I think he did. I think he had my shirt. I think he was punching me. Travis is in a state of disrepair. There is no question that Ahmaud's hands are on this gun. And the medical examiner from that stand told you that if Ahmaud Arbery is grabbing this gun and trying to pull it away, that as the gun gets pulled out of his hands and fired, it could fire right on that wrist and shoot into the chest and go across the body. Pull it straight out. No question. This is about this gun. Travis turns into Ahmaud, trying to use his entire body, pulls the end of the shotgun away from him, gets pushed across the road into the grass, and the second shot goes off. Here's the plume, and it's believed that it didn't hit Mr. Arbery. Travis, coming out of the grass now, trying to yank this gun from Mr. Arbery. Again, trying to yank it away from him. Ahmaud's hand still on it. Ahmaud's fist now raising. Is there any question that Ahmaud Arbery is assaulting Travis McMichael right before that third shot? Not one single bit of question. And that third shot goes off. And these two men end where they started, face to face, looking into each other's eyes. Never a word being spoken by Mr. Arbery. And it is absolutely horrific and tragic that this has happened. And again, this is where the law is intertwined with heartache and tragedy. You are allowed to defend yourself. You are allowed to use force that is likely to cause death or serious bodily injury if you believe it's necessary. At that moment, Travis believed it was necessary. This is a law that is for a person in Travis's situation. And you can do it to prevent death to yourself or a third person, or to prevent the commission of a forcible felony, like aggravated assault. Aggravated assault is a felony which can occur by use of fists. Greg McMichael with a hip replacement, heart attack, stroke, sitting in the back of that truck. Travis was afraid for him. If this was a case about wanting to murder a black jogger, if this was really a case about that, Travis would not have reacted the way he reacted. It was described to you by Brooke Perez. She talked about how totally freaked out he looked, how totally discombobulated he was, and she was right. The officer saying, just breathe, just breathe. Just take a minute, just breathe. Just calm down, I know, just hold on a second. It was from that spot to this spot, within just an hour and a half of what had happened, where he would be brought for several hours of questioning. He was afraid. He was in shock. His adrenaline was still going through his body. You guys know how fear and worry works. You sat here through jury selection all day and probably felt that just by getting asked questions for an hour. Travis testified, even though he didn't have to. The judge will give you the law that cloaks Travis in sort of a shield of silence. You don't have to testify. You are presumed innocent. You have the right to remain silent. The state has to prove that you did that. You don't have to get up there and testify. He did, because he wanted you to understand what happened from him. He told you about the thefts and the burglaries, the totality of the facts, why he believed what he did, that he wanted to follow him, that he wanted to talk to him, that he wanted to stop him, for the police to detain him. Don't be fooled by this word arrest. You don't have to announce you're under arrest. He told you why he raised the gun, because he was afraid that he would be on him within seconds. And the gun did exactly what he hoped it would be. It deterred him. And why ultimately he shot. The state wants to criticize Travis for testifying. I thought of this example as the state was talking about bias and prejudice. Travis is a liar. He's a liar because he has everything to gain by testifying here. He's got everything to lose by testifying. We are judgmental people. He's got 2 hours to tell you what happened at the risk of all of you sitting in judgment of him and saying, I don't believe him. He's got everything to lose. But should he be labeled as so biased because the state indicted him for murder and brought this case to a trial where he has the right to testify if he wants to? Should we label him biased and motivated and a liar because he took the stand? How about I say to any of you, prove your name. Prove to me what your name is. I'm going to make up a name since we're not naming you and we're not identifying you. My name is Patricia. Okay, Patricia, prove your name is Patricia. Well, okay, my mother. I'll bring my mother into court. What are we going to say about your mother? Well, of course she wants to help you prove your name is Patricia because she's your mother. She loves you. She's on your side. See, that's how that works. Well, here's a piece of paper that says, here's a piece of mail that says my name is Patricia. Well, of course you bring that document, but where'd that come from? You could have doctored that up. This kind of stuff, while credibility is for you to determine, this whole assuming that somebody is biased simply because they elect to come and tell you what happened is a game. It's an unfair game. I wanted to show you the law about arrest and what it says, that it doesn't require you actually announcing that you are under arrest. It's doing any seizing or taking or detaining, either by touching or by any act indicating an intention. Stop where you are, stop right now, and at the last moment, he said stop and get on the ground. Even along Holmes or Burford, stop, stop, I want to talk to you, stop. He's trying to detain him. Travis could have not gotten in his car. Travis could have told his dad, this is not going to work today, Dad. You can't sit in the baby seat. Let's just go back inside. Travis could have watched Ahmaud run down the road. He could have done everything other than what actually happened. He could have done any of that and wishes that he would have. But that does not mean that his actions on that day weren't rooted in the law that enabled him to go out there based on everything he knew to do what he did that day. Travis could have is another red herring. It's a flawed argument to take you off and to make you feel emotional about this case. That we would be here but for. Well, of course that's true. But then we could go back and say, Travis wouldn't be here but for his grandparents, making his mother and father. But for is loose. That is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about probable cause, totality of circumstances, actual events. But for is some loosey-goosey, illegitimate term. You will not see it in the definition of probable cause. Travis told you, understanding that what he could have done differently that day would mean that Ahmaud Arbery was still alive. He told you. I know that. I know that I killed somebody. And me, and him, and our families, we will never be the same. And he carries that with him every day. The murder charge, along with the felony murder charge, the intentional acts is what those are broken down to. Intentionally choosing to commit a crime that either intends to take the life of somebody or ultimately takes the life of somebody. The only time in this case where life was in danger was at the very end of Holmes when Mr. Arbery chose to cut that turn and go all the way across the front of that truck. Every time they encounter each other on this road, 3 times in front of Roddy Bryan's house, 2 times at the end, 2 times down here. If he wanted to kill him, that's just a nonsensical argument. This was not about taking someone's life that day. Mr. Rubin mentioned to you in his opening statement about duty and responsibility. And I agree with that. Travis felt a duty and responsibility. He has felt it when he served in the Coast Guard. He's felt it to his community, and he felt it on this day, on the 23rd of February, and he felt it during this trial when he took the stand and testified. He felt it was his duty and responsibility to do that. The state, too, has a duty and responsibility. They have a responsibility to be honest with you, to incorporate all of the facts, and take on their burden. The state spent 2/3 of their opening argument saying what we were going to say. It was like 2 kids getting in trouble, and the first one that gets to the parent and says, so-and-so did something, and the parent needs to say, well, hold on a second, let's hear from the other child. They have a duty to you to prove under the law that Travis, at the time he raised that gun, was not in fear. That at the time Travis shot Mr. Arbery, as he came across the front of that car and held the gun and punched him, that he was not in fear of receiving a serious injury or death. And they have a duty to prove to you that when Travis stopped to talk to Ahmaud, that he did so to commit a felony of aggravated assault. That means every time you're walking in your neighborhood and somebody pulls up a truck next to you and says hi or hey, they've committed an aggravated assault or a false imprisonment. Where's the evidence of that? The last duty that is here is yours, and this is a very, very tough one. You all understand, and I will not belabor, the lengths that we have gone to meet you, to understand who you are, to understand your background, to understand the thoughts that you have about certain things, and the way that we communicated with each other for several hours to arrive at the point where we felt in our hearts and our minds that you all would carry the banner of the duty and the responsibility that is yours as jurors. This courtroom is sacred. It is our last place for truth. It is where we pull it from the witnesses if we have to, and we present it to you. And we ask that you hold it dear, and that you accept your duty to not erode the law as you sit here and think about what the law allows a citizen to do. It is going to take courage. It's going to take courage to set aside what you think and feel, what may be trying to penetrate you from other sources that you have tried to do your best to avoid, and to focus on the bare facts of this case that have been captured on photograph and on video that have been testified to in this courtroom. It will take courage. In every count in this case, you're going to be asked to make a decision about each person accused. Travis McMichael will have his form, Greg McMichael his, and Roddy Bryan his. And you will be given the option on every one of these charges for not guilty or guilty. The evidence that's been demonstrated to you, I think, is overwhelming, but it doesn't come without hardship on you, consequence for these families. But I think the evidence is clear in this case. Travis had spent 9 years in the Coast Guard, search and rescue, policing the water, sometimes 200 feet offshore, going into situations that were very difficult, working with law enforcement, reaching out and extending his hand as firefighter law enforcement officer combination. For the first time in his life, Travis is now in those waters. He is now the one who needs help. Our goal here has been to do everything we can to dive into those waters, to search for the truth, to pull it from the icy depths and to raise it to the surface. And we have done that. We have done that with Travis McMichael. We have carried him to the surface to you. And now the choice is yours. Will you do as he has done in the past to others? Will you reach out your hand and extend it to Travis McMichael and pull him out of those waters? I think if you've heard anything that I've said, there's only one decision. He is not guilty on all charges. I thank you all for your time.